The Trump administration is a house of cards, and we need to blow hard together collectively to blow that house down. His depravity and immorality and those around him as his enablers will be the ruin of the Trump administration. Ultimately, we just have to make sure it's not the ruin of our American experiment. I look at a whole bunch of recent events, from foreign policy to domestic policy to the abuse of civil rights and civil liberties on the streets and in the courts by Donald Trump's sycophants and bootlickers like Stephen Miller, like Carolyn Leavitt, like the heads of the Department of Justice and the FBI, as federal courts try to be the last vestige to protect our democracy, the last firewall. And I cover it all on my podcast called The Intersection, and here's a clip. We have to have a heart-to-heart with each other about what is happening with this Trump administration, which is spiraling out of control and threatening to take us along with it. And what we're going to do as the non-MAGA part of the country, the larger part of the country, in order to save our constitutional republic. We've got Supreme Court hearings, including tomorrow. I'm going to brief you on that. I hope people don't think I deal in hyperbole. I'm not a hyperbolic person. But the soul of America is up for grabs tomorrow at the Supreme Court oral argument about the Calais case in Louisiana. There's no other way to put it. Whether black and brown people are going to be in Congress or not, whether we're going to have representative democracy or not, is all on the line with a hearing, an oral argument tomorrow and an eventual ruling by the Supreme Court. And I'm going to tell you what is at stake. It's not just the fact that every map in red states will be completely redrawn and eliminating up to 20 Democratic, that means black and brown seats, but it goes to who we are as a nation. The Voting Rights Act is the crown jewel of the civil rights movement and legislation passed under the Johnson administration, led by leaders, the likes of which we haven't seen since, like Martin Luther King Jr. So I want to talk about that and have a conversation with you so you can have a conversation with your neighbors, your fellow churchgoers and synagogue goers and mosque goers and atheists and agnostics, whoever you are, whatever your gender. We need to have this conversation. We can't shy away from it. Being defiant in our First Amendment expression does not mean we're disloyal to America. Quite the opposite. By being somebody who defends not only your own personal right to express yourselves, to peaceably assemble, to associate with those who you want to associate with, to hear in the marketplace of ideas the things that you may not even want to hear, not just for yourself, but for your neighbor, is being patriotic. It is what America is about. We can't let Donald Trump take the beating heart of what it means to be an American and rip it out and show it to us on an hourly or daily basis. And through the matters at the intersection of law and politics that I've curated for you on this Legal AF/intersection podcast, we're going to get to the bottom of what and distill what it means to be an American. And you'll test your own values. And you'll say, no, that's right. No, that's wrong. Because I don't live in the moral gray area of there's no right and there's no wrong. Virtually all of what I see in the Trump administration is wrong. Even when he tries to pull off what is effectively, for him, a real estate land deal without concern and with complete indifference to human suffering, the Mideast peace plan, self-proclaimed. Even there is a depravity, an indifference to human suffering on both sides of that line. People are like, oh, Donald Trump was able to cut the Gordian knot of the Middle East conflict. Yeah, because he saw it as a real estate play. Who led it? Real estate developer Steve Witkoff, real estate developer Jared Kushner, real estate developer Donald Trump. They don't care about how you rebuild Gaza, the human suffering in Israel, the human suffering in Gaza, the amount of people who died who were kidnapped in Israel, the amount of people who died and suffered on the other side. They don't care about that. They never will. That's why that shiny gold object that the golem of Donald Trump covets, the Nobel Peace Prize, he'll never get the Nobel Peace Prize because he's a warmonger. He's closer to being indicted as a war criminal by the ICC than he is winning the Nobel Peace Prize. And then you've got, I want to jump in here. I'm going to talk about the James Comey, not just the indictment, but the developments there. It is pulverizing the Department of Justice. The leadership, we're watching, it is imploding. It's becoming a black hole, the Department of Justice. It was already the most corrupt Department of Justice in history. But now there's just a fractious lack of leadership because Donald Trump took seriously that he's the chief legal officer and Pam Bondi is just his lackey. And now we've got a rebellious force within the Department of Justice. Of course, the MAGA splinter off, represented by Ed Martin and his chief acolyte, Lindsay Halligan, against Pam Bondi and Todd Blanche. And new reporting, guess who doesn't like Kash Patel? Pam Bondi and Todd Blanche. And we'll talk about what all of that means and what it means for some new filings that James Comey's going to be making by the 20th of October. Wait till you hear what that's all about. Then I want to update you on Letitia James and the new information that's come out that demonstrates that the career prosecutors who wouldn't take this case and said there was no case were right about who's living in that house in Virginia. I feel like I'm doing a horror movie. Who's living in the house? The call's coming from inside. And why is she going? Why is she staring down the barrel of a 30-year prison sentence? Because she let a couple of family members stay in a house that she told the bank was going to be her second home. What is happening here? But there's some developments there that involves Lindsay Halligan and Ed Martin all over again. And now we got to return to Tom Homan and the bribery scandal, because the press reports were Stephanopoulos cuts off J.D. Vance during testy interview on Sunday about Tom Homan. No, that's not it. I caught what's it. J.D. Vance, who often goes on television and makes it worse, not better, for whatever scandal's going on. J.D. Vance accidentally confessed that there is a video recording of Tom Homan, border czar, taking a $50,000 bribe, cash, in a bag. Stephanopoulos kept saying audio. He said, I don't know what you mean about this video. There's the confession we were looking for. J.D. Vance is always trying to clean up here. You know, when Pete Hegseth said, there's going to be a Qatari Air Force base in Idaho. Then they sent out J.D. Vance to say, that was taken out of context. Why? Because they played the audio tape without editing it of Pete Hegseth's remarks next to the foreign minister for Qatar, for Qatar. Just so crazy. We're going to talk about the bribe scandal and where it goes from here. We've got the Alex Jones. Thank God. I don't want to thank the Supreme Court. He's not getting out from under his $1.5 billion punitive damages and defamation judgment that was obtained properly so by the Sandy Hook families, because he said that the children didn't really die in the massacre, nor the teachers. They were actors, and the parents were actors, and this was a false flag event. Yeah, he's not getting out of the $1.5 billion of judgments because of the First Amendment, and the Supreme Court sent him packing. We'll talk about that. And it ties back to that story about Comey and what's going on in the Department of Justice. Supreme Court, as I let off what we're doing here, is about to hear oral argument in the Calais case about voting maps, and that's important. And then I want to do a brief update about the National Guard. But first, before we get started, Donald Trump, the sexual predator, sex abuser, adjudged in chief, is back at it again, saying disgusting, sexual, sexist, misogynist things in a predatory, leering way against women, including in his own White House, like the press secretary, including about Prime Minister Meloni in Italy. He was supposed to be on a victory lap because of that land deal, masquerading as the peace process in the Middle East. But then he went back and started talking to reporters. And then he met with people like Meloni. I want to show you back to back. Let's go with Meloni first and watch the look on her face.
Very much. Italy, we have a young woman who's, I'm not allowed to say it because usually it's the end of your political career if you say it. She's a beautiful young woman. Now, if you use the word beautiful in the United States about a woman, that's the end of your political career, but I'll take my chances. Where is she? There she is. You don't mind being called beautiful, right? Because you are. Thank you very much for coming. We appreciate it. She wanted to be here, and she's incredible, and they really respect her in Italy. She's a very successful politician.
I know, he uses that phrase all the time. I know it'll end my career. It could end anybody else's career, but I'm going to say it. You're a beautiful, beautiful woman. He's so disgusting. Like, he goes to meet with the royal family, and we've already seen the clips with Donald Trump greeting Princess Kate, who's like a national, international icon. You are so beautiful. I mean, I can read lips on the clip. Ugh. Oh my God, yuck. Yuck. Especially when everybody he meets knows he's been adjudged a sex abuser, 9-0 by a federal court in New York. A federal judge, he said he was a technical rapist because of his sexual abuse against E. Jean Carroll, who's still holding $100 million of judgments that says she was right and he was wrong. And they also know about the Access Hollywood tape, which I had to listen to recently to do a new video. And I was like, it was even more vulgar than I had remembered it. Like I had misremembered it. About grabbing women by their P word and the F-bomb and using breath mints to jam his tongue down women's throats unsuspectingly. I'm like, egads, how did this guy, who sent him back to the White House? So let's play. Then it turns to Caroline Levitt, and he makes like an overtly sexual comment about her mouth and lips. I mean, I hate to play it, but let's play it.
Talk to her. And I never failed in working it out like immediately. Is that right? How's Caroline doing? Is she doing good? Should Caroline be replaced?
No. That's up to you, sir.
It'll never happen.
Nobody wants to. I say she does a great job. Do you want to elaborate on the
and those lips, they move like a machine gun, right?
Do you want to elaborate on the
Right. Yuck. It's all consistent. When he was on his I Want to Win the Nobel Prize tour, he was in the Oval Office meeting with an African-American or an African reporter, and he couldn't help himself. Let's play that clip.
Let's go.
As China deepens its presence in Latin America, what role do you see for the U.S.?
I just like to watch your talk.
Sorry, no? Okay.
Good job.
Okay, thank you.
Good job. Thank you, darling.
Yuck. This is the conversation we have to have with each other. We can't ignore it. We can't look away. We can't say that's just Trump being Trump. And the fact that MAGA and the Christian right defend him needs to be called out. They all go and shake a tambourine at Charlie Kirk's memorial. You know, they all go, a couple 100,000 people pack into a stadium about Christian values. What is Christian, Judeo-Christian, Judeo-Muslim, Islam Christian? What is about anything that I just played here or talked about so far? None of it is. None of it is. So let me jump into, as long as we're here together, thank you. And thank you for being here with me. Welcome back. You're here on Legal AF YouTube or on the MeidasTouch YouTube. Hit the free subscribe button to wherever you are. The Intersection every Tuesday night at 8 p.m. Eastern Time on the MeidasTouch Network. And then a commercial-free version I put up on Legal AF Substack. Now is the time to help us continue to grow the Intersection and Legal AF's community and its different components. For the Intersection, come on over to the audio podcast platforms, Apple, Spotify, leave a 5-star review and comments. That helps keep that show up and running. And the reward is there'll be more content from me on the Intersection. On the YouTube version, keep it coming because we are already in the top 100 of all podcasts, regardless of the type of variety, because of you. And that's the Intersection. And then here on Legal AF YouTube, hit the free subscribe button, no paywall. Come over to Legal AF Substack for some amazing content, exclusive content you can't get anywhere else, and help us by becoming a paid member. It's about $7 a month. So until my next report, I'm Michael Popok. Can't get your fill of Legal AF? Me neither. That's why we formed the Legal AF Substack. Every time we mention something in a hot take, whether it's a court filing or a oral argument, come over to the Substack. You'll find the court filing and the oral argument there, including a daily roundup that I do called, wait for it, Morning AF. What else? All the other contributors from Legal AF are there as well. We got some new reporting. We got interviews. We got ad-free versions of the podcast and hot takes. Where? Legal AF on Substack. Come over now to free subscribe.